Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music, and I want to take the opportunity of Valentine's Day. I'm recording this on Valentine's Day to talk about the Lament Bass. The Lament Bass, maybe the single most important bass line that composers of the classical, popular, and musical theater categories have used over centuries to express sorrow, longing, heartbreak. Well, it's everywhere once you tune into it. Let's take a look at a few examples today. Okay, Valentine's Day. Now, I think I've done this video before because there's a famous song, My Funny Valentine. Well, it's actually not about Valentine's Day. I think the character in the play is named Valentine, but it's a great example of the Lament Bass. I'll play it and we'll talk a little bit about it. So, listen to what's happening at the very bottom. The bass line descends in half steps until we get the turnaround, the 2-5. And then it goes back home to C. Well, that descent, that motion by half steps down from the 1 minor chord is the essence of the Lament Bass. And it almost always encompasses what's called a tetrachord in music. 4, scale degrees, but it frequently touches on every chromatic step between the two. And it's a powerful approach to creating propulsion and, sort of suspension and tension and release as the bass line moves around. It's not just playing the roots of the chords, because in the case of My Funny Valentine, for instance, there's the root on the bottom, but then there's the major 7th of a minor chord on the bottom, and then there's the minor 7th, and then there's the 6th, and you can think about these chords in a number of ways, but we're actually creating a really energetic chord by taking an unusual tone from the chord and making it the bass note. Well, that brings to mind something which is kind of an old-fashioned notion. It's called Partimento, and I was exposed to it as a young music student, but it's not really taught that much anymore. It's sort of an 18th century idea. And essentially you can see examples of it here. And I don't show notation very often, but here it is. I just clipped it off the Wikipedia page about it. And let's see, blow this up maybe a little bit more because I want to look at the bottom example. Maybe the 2 bottom examples. And here you can see a lovely example of kind of what the rule of the octave lays out, which is just a bass line moving down the scale. It eventually takes us home. It creates a kind of a inevitability. And then the chord itself gets sketched out against that. It's a lovely sort of secondary dominant motion to the 5 chord D. Still the 5 chord D, but over the 7th this time. 1 chord, 5-7 chord over the 5th. Listen to that again without me talking. It's so beautiful. This moment right here. And what composers have done is take advantage of that inevitability of the descending bass line to create propulsion and kind of create yearning. There's definitely moments of suspension there. Right? Beautiful moments of suspension. Take a look at the Lennon-McCartney Chestnut Michelle. Now, they've used the same trick in this pop song here. Not in the very beginning of the song, but right here. The bass line descends. It really is just like the example that we showed in My Funny Valentine. D goes down to C sharp, goes down to C, keeps going down, and it's right down that 4-note tetrachord break to the 5, and then back home again to 1. It is so powerful. And you can improvise around with this kind of thing. I mean, honestly, it's sort of an all-day beauty. doesn't always have to be chords from the scale. It could be surprise chords. I did something really unusual there. I did a lot of modal mixture. D minor went to D flat major. Very exciting and strange. Which went to F, I think. I almost don't remember what I did, or maybe it was F minor. Which went to B major. Very bright and shocking. F sharp major or G flat major, sinking down to A, so I could get back home again. That descending bass line, however, drew it all together. And contemporary composers are using that kind of approach all the time. But it's not just for contemporary sound. It's the last thing we're going to look at. Maybe not the last thing. I guess before we take a look at Dido and Aeneas's When I Am Laid in Earth, the classic example might be, for instance, the lines from that classic Stairway to Heaven progression, right? It's going down in half steps. Same thing. And then also there's a super easy version of the Lament Bass, which is sometimes called the Andalusian tetrachord. A down to G, down to F and E, and you can hit the road jack bass. Forever, right? That was maybe the first bass line I learned to improvise on. Well, take a look at this lovely item from Purcell. Purcell, British composer of the I'm going to say 17th century, 1600s. Some people think this is the first real opera. There's the bass line descending. And the whole thing starts again. Kind of a passacaglia, a repeated bass line that goes over and over again. And so often the lament bass becomes a kind of a passacaglia, something that just perseverates, repeats, and creates that sense of inevitability and propulsion. It's a terrifically powerful tool for us as composers, and it shows up in classical, pop, and theater music kind of all the time. You can use it yourself. You can improvise with it, write with it. It's always going to generate something surprising and fun. And it's kind of a perennial go-to choice. Well, I hope this has been useful. Like and subscribe, ding the bell, you'll be notified when I do my videos. Check out my shorts. They're tiny little examples of fun things to do on the piano for yourself. I'll see you next time.